Welcome back. So this is our second video of our series of bringing topography in from Infraworks into Format and then into Revit. So I guess the reason why we're doing this is there's not really a direct connection between Infraworks and Revit, and Format kind of works as an intermediate in terms of doing that. So not a huge deal. Just wanted to mention that. So I've got Format open. This is kind of the screen you see. For anyone familiar with SketchUp, or any other 3D modeling software, this is kind of what you see. Often there would be some sort of X, Y, Z axis and kind of a plane that you're working on. So we're going to go up here. We're going to go to File, Import. We're going to import locally, and you'll notice when we actually exported from Infraworks, we exported a building file and a ground file. So we're going to start with the ground file right now. So we're going to grab that. And it should take a second to kind of load in here. So once that file is loaded in, it's actually quite simple. So I already have Revit open here. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back in and we're essentially going to take this file and we're going to export it locally. And we want to export it as a DXF file. So we're going to export all objects as a DXF file. Click OK, and we're just going to call this, I think what we do, 2021 S BIM E 10 mile. And I'm going to actually be a bit specific. I'm going to call it format export, just so we know that this is that step. So once we have our file name there, I'm going to click OK. And I'm going to leave this open for a second. I'm going to go to our Revit. We're going to go to New here. And we're going to go to Browse. We're going to find our default file. So anyone that's taken the, I always recommend always starting with your default Revit file. Click Open, click OK. And we have our Revit file open here. So our kind of next step for this process is to go to Insert, and we're going to go to Import CAD, and we're going to find that file we just had here. I'm just going to use this to kind of get there, maybe. Nope. Browse to my folder here. So we're going to grab our file there, and we're just going to import it. So once that file is imported, we're going to get this error message. So we can't see it in this view. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to our 3D view here, and we're going to see our Revit file or our CAD file. So we're going to leave that CAD file where it is. We're going to leave it there for just a little bit. We'll edit it eventually, but we're going to leave it there for now. And so the first step to creating topography is actually quite simple. We're going to go up here to Massing and Site, Topo Surface, and then we're going to click Create from Import, select Import Instance, and then we're going to select that CAD file. And I'm going to leave all these points on right now. If you know what any of these mean, or if you want to be selective, you can certainly do that. We're just going to click OK. And it's going to process that imported file. And one thing that you could do is there's a Simplify Surface button here, and we can change the accuracy of these points. And the only reason why I bring this up is you might, when you bring in this file, might have a crazy amount of points. So this might be required just to simplify the topography. So we'll change that to 1 foot, and it reduces the amount of points we have, which is probably, like, we don't need all these points all over the place if there's not much difference in them. And then we're just going to click that check mark here, and we have our topo surface. I'm just going to, for a second, I'm going to delete, we have to unpin, and I'm going to delete our DXF file so we can just see the topography. So there's our topo service. I'm just going to bring back in the topo service for a second. So the one thing I recommend is, I guess there's a few other extra steps. So maybe what we'll do is we're going to repeat these steps for the building file, and then we'll kind of talk about how to move that in. So I'm going to pause here for a second. I'm going to re-import from format the building file, and then we'll kind of proceed with those steps. So I just want to show you, I went to file import, imported our building file, and then I left it selected, and I went to export locally, and I actually went to selection only and made sure my building was selected. So I exported that building like that. And we're going to do, the reason why I kind of brought this back on sooner, I'm going to do one extra little step here before we bring it into here. And not completely necessary, but I think it will help out. We're going to go to File, and we're going to go to Architecture. We're going to go to Mass, or Model in Place Mass. We're going to go down to Mass here, and we'll click Close there. Mass. We'll just call this Buildings. And the reason why we're going to bring this into a mass family is then we can kind of apply a texture to it a little bit easier. Might be a good strategy for later. So now we can do the same thing, import CAD, export buildings, and it places our buildings in the proper spot. So the reason why I wanted to do this in that order is now when we go to move all this, we can move it together. So I'm going to click on our front view here, and a couple different strategies. We could bring our levels up and orientate our site properly. I'm not going to do that today. I'm going to focus on just bringing all this down and bring it in line with what we're doing here. And I'm going to turn off constrain and see if it'll let us bring it down. I think our mass is preventing us. Yeah, we can bring our topography down. Oh, that's why there's that DXF in there. Yeah, so it looks like the mass of our buildings is what's preventing it from going down. So we'll just double tap into here, and we'll just lower our buildings down. Oh, it's pinned, that's why. Okay, I'm going to go back a couple steps here. So let's try that again. So let's click here. We're going to unpin this. Then we're going to finish our mass. And now we should be able to move all this down. So let's move this over to here. And it still doesn't want to go. All right, well, we'll just bring this down. Like so, finish mass. So now our buildings and everything are on the right level. We're going to leave our DXF file in there. And so the reason why is I want to take you to here, and we can use the split region tool in Revit. So we can do our subregion tool to create, roads, for example. So we know this is our road here. And for right now, I'm not going to go too crazy. I'm just going to model, roughly this main road along where our site is. And then later on, I might come back and model more. But right now, this at least just gives us that context. And anything beyond exactly where we're working, might not matter so much. So I think for the purpose of this, I'm just going to extend this kind of roughly down like that and finish off that. And we're going to click, oh, not that button, check mark. And I'm just going to go to 3D here for a second. So now that we have our subregion there, what I'm just going to do is I'm going to grab that subregion and I'm going to change this material to asphalt. So we're going to change that to ash. Asphalt pavement. So I'm just going to click this right here. I'm going to click this little arrow. If you don't see this, it's often collapsed like that. So you just have to click this little arrow down here to get up on the material. And then you can lift the pavement up into your actual material browser there. So now that's pavement. So if we turn this on to consistent colors now, you'll see that that area is dark and then the rest of it's kind of brown for the topography. So that's kind of the start. So what we want to do is we want to start diagramming the location of our site. So I think the road is the first thing you want to do. Maybe this river we will do next. So the river would be the same deal. We would do a filled region and call that water. Oh, sorry, this river here, call that water. And that'll be, I guess, the start to kind of diagramming the context of our site.